we started. Together!
As I'm sure you know, Simon Mayo and I have been doing a movie review show on BBC Radio 5 Live for 10 years, and interestingly enough, that period pretty much matches up with the period of the Harry Potter movie series. And this week, the Harry Potter movie series finishes with Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 2. It all ends here. The most surprising thing for me is just how much I think I'm going to miss those movies, because looking back, when the series started, I was not a fan. Now, I've said it before, I'll say it again. Christopher Columbus, who helmed the first couple of movies, is, in my opinion, a bean counter director. When I saw those first films, I thought that's exactly what's wrong with fantasy cinema. It's not Terry Gilliam. It's not adventurous. It's not visual. It's just ordinary, plodding storytelling. And in fact, it didn't really bring much to the books. It just detracted slightly from the complexity of the books. Then along came Alfonso Cuarón, for me, the first real filmmaker on the scene who took the series somewhere else, made it into a visual treat, made it look like a real film. And suddenly I woke up and got interested. Now, the last few movies have been directed by David Yates, who seems to have a genuine visual sense, a reverence for the material, an understanding that books and films are different, and yet they do have to be connected in key ways. And what they've done is they've created certain changes to the climax of the Harry Potter story, things that I thought actually would work on screen, but key speeches that when I read them in the book, those have been taken away. We now have slightly more spectacular battles, a slightly more sort of visual style to some of the end confrontations. But overall, the film is a pretty solid and ambitious adaptation of a very complex book.
If anyone here has any knowledge of Mr. Potter's movements this evening, I invite them to step forward. Now.
It seems, despite your exhaustive defensive strategies, you still have a bit of a security problem, Headmaster.
Now, it's not without flaws. The biggest flaw is this. As you'll know, this last part has been converted to 3D from 2D. It was filmed in 2D, it was never meant to be 3D, then the edict came down, everything's got to be 3D. They tried to convert Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 1. At the last minute they gave up, saying, sorry, we can't do it, it's not good enough and the audience won't buy it. It's a shame they haven't done it this time, because the fact of the matter is the 3D adds nothing to the final installment. In fact, because the film is quite dark, in many ways it detracts. You forget you're watching a 3D film, other than the fact that the image is slightly murky. Take the glasses off, clearer, brighter, better, but unfortunately disjointed because of the 3D effect. You do not need to see this movie in 3D. It was shot in 2D, it was made in 2D, it was designed in 2D. If you can get to a cinema showing it in 2D, believe me, that's the way to see it. But beyond that, it's a really interesting, solid, ambitious adaptation of a complex book. There are so many things to like about the Harry Potter series. The obvious homage to the Hammer tradition. For me, in many ways, the Harry Potter series is horror movies for kids. They are genuinely scary. They deal with dark subjects and dark magic, and they have a gothic visual style to them, which clearly nods back to those great horror classics. The performances have all grown over the years. I know that some people have carped every now and then saying perhaps some of the kids weren't as great as they could have been. You know what? Looking at the way they play in the latest movie, I don't think there's any criticism at all. What's also interesting is to see a great British institution. Yes, there's American financing, but these films are made here using British talent, British cast, British technicians, and see the series do so well around the world. It's interesting as well that at the premiere, which I went to last week, just how emotional everyone was about the fact that it was coming to an end. And it wasn't just a financial thing. J.K. Rowling got up, she was in tears. She suddenly said, I'm going to write another book. No, it's a joke. All the cast members seem to genuinely like each other and genuinely like their director, which I have to say is increasingly a rarity in big blockbuster filmmaking. And also, in an age in which Michael Bay is making millions with movies which have no story, no characters, no plots, no heart, no integrity, no substance, nothing to get your teeth into. The Harry Potter movie, which is a great big spectacular action blockbuster on one level, has story, characters, heart, themes, undercurrents. It's a film about people rather than a film about special effects. You know, in a way, Stephen Fry said it best when he made a joke at the BAFTAs. He said, some people say that the Harry Potter movies are so good that they're even better than the audio books.